Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speak Your Truth podcast. I'm Kristen Bomas, and we are on a conscious journey to enlightenment. Today, the question that we're going to ponder is, am I having a premonition, or did I manifest the event? What is the difference? The question came from a conversation I had with one of my dear friends this past weekend, and it's an interesting answer. I don't know that there is a difference. In fact, I'm going to say there is not, because it matters not if it was manifested or if it is a premonition, since those are really coming from the same source. The ego wants to know if there's a difference. If, in fact, it's got a great outcome, then of course I want to believe that I manifested it. But if it doesn't have a good outcome, then I want to believe I had a premonition. Because we feel a guilt or a sense of responsibility if we manifest a negative outcome or a poor outcome or an unwanted outcome. But it's an interesting thing, because even if the outcome is one that you don't particularly prefer, whether it was manifested or a premonition, since truly they are the same, and I'm going to get back to that in a second, we don't know why we manifested a bad, whatever that is, outcome, if in fact we manifest a train crossing the tracks and getting stuck and holding us up by 25 minutes. And we're like, oh my gosh, we're late for the show, blah, blah, blah. Did I manifest this, or did I have a premonition because something crossed my mind before I left the house? Well, does it matter which it is? Either way, we don't know what would have happened had that train not crossed. Maybe had we gone through the train track before the train got there, we would have had some sort of catastrophe that was prevented by being stopped by the train. Many things could have happened. We don't know. And the ego is what wants to know. The ego is what wants to define these two events. But they're one and the same. They come from a place of knowingness that exists within us. That knowingness transcends time and space. It can be people like to think in terms of higher self, higher awareness, soulfulness, and that space of infinite, however you want to define that. It is in that source that we have a knowingness beyond space and time. So if we are creating this life, then of course we know what's happening in the future. That's the premonition, but we're also creating it because that's what we're here to do. So the law of attraction goes both ways. The law of attraction says I create, but the creation is also creating. It's always going to be in that circle. But it actually defines exactly what we're saying here. Am I manifesting or seeing it ahead of time? It has to be both. You can define it the way you want, but understand if you need to define it, we're going back to the ego, and the ego is always anchored in the fear. So what are we doing when the fear comes into the equation? Well, we don't want to take responsibility for something that we don't particularly care for, we don't feel is a positive outcome. And so we want to make sure that we understand which it is so that we can make changes if we need to. But again, all of that is the ego. So what is it? Is it premonition or is it manifestation? It's both. They are one and the same. We are always aware of what is happening beyond time and space, but in this physicality, we only know it through time and space. It's in this physicality that we experience the past, the present, and the future. And so when we create, as we all know, we have to let go of our timeline and our egotistical ways of wanting things to happen in the way we want them to happen. If our manifestation is about peace and tranquility, but we have a fear of having an upsetting not comfortable kind of experience, and that uncomfortable experience occurs, and we're like, oh my God, did I create this or did I see this? What is it? But as an outcome of that uncomfortable experience, because we know we want a comfortable one, we keep pushing, we then see that we're in the comfortable one. So did we manifest that? You see how you get confused because the ego needs to have definition? Surrender into the rhythm of this life if you can. Understand that it is one and the same. When we remove time and space and we understand that the soul is in a constant state of creating this existence and this experience in order to have the experience it wishes to have, we know that the law of attraction says that that which we experience internally, we create. We know that there are a variety of things going on inside. Let go of the ego if you can. Let go of the need to have the answers. Understand that if you surrender into the rhythm of this life, and if you can grasp that the manifestation and the premonition is one and the same, then all of a sudden you know that you're just moving with the experiences that are being created. And the more you can honor that you had the awareness, the more you connect into that infinite wisdom that takes you beyond the space and time of this physicality, and the more you open those doors to that infinite space. So it's a great question, and I hope the answer starts to settle you into the rhythm of the law of attraction and life and the way it works, and moves you away from the ego that wants to define it and limit it. Enjoy the journey of manifestation and premonition. Let it open your experiences. Thank you for joining me. Please remember to subscribe if you like this talk. Thank you again.